Rabbi Yoel once told me that he wrote to the Rebbe a letter, a shaila in halacha, but he gave some kind of inyan of refuah, something. He didn't tell me what it was about, but he wrote the Rebbe and it was an inyan in halacha. And the Rebbe answered him whatever the Rebbe answered him in Pashut in halacha, in Nigla. And he wrote back to the Rebbe a kasha on what the Rebbe wrote. A simple kasha. And the Rebbe answered him, you're right. Your kasha is a good kasha, and the Rebbe basically changed, so to speak. And he tells me that the kasha that he wrote was so simple, he couldn't believe that the Rebbe didn't think of that kasha. He had to ask the Rebbe, and the Rebbe had to agree to it. So he wrote that to the Rebbe. What's the pshat that the Rebbe didn't think of the kasha? So the Rebbe wrote him a long letter, long settle, I guess, where the Rebbe is masbir that be'emes, the kasha that you asked is no kasha whatsoever. And the Rebbe answered it very simply. But on that answer that's very simple, there's another kasha, and the Rebbe went on back and forth, till finally it ends up that the kasha that Rabbi Yoel asked is really a good kasha. But Lepel Mamish, it ends up with the same kasha that he asked, but it's not the same. He asked it Pashut simply. And the Rebbe explained how after that simple kasha, you could answer, and you could go on deeper and deeper and deeper. And the end, after all the depth, you come back to that kasha. So it showed that not the pshat that the Rebbe didn't think of the kasha. The Rebbe thought of it right away, but had an answer to it. But later, when the Rebbe agreed that the kasha is a kasha, because it went much deeper. And from that, I understood, Pasha, the way we learn Gemara, that you have Gemara as a kasha and a teretz, or sometimes whichever is things like that. And you have all the mefarshim ask, what kind of teretz is it? Teretz is not a good teretz, and you have all kinds of kashas, and you answer it back. And sof kol sof, what happens is you come to the end that the teretz the Gemara gives is a good teretz, but not the way it seems simply. Haket. But what the Gemara did, what Ravina Veravasha did when they they wrote the Gemara, they wrote the kasha and the teretz, and in between there is so much discussion, because otherwise sometimes the Gemara says a kasha, what's kind of kasha? There's no kasha. We could answer very simple. Elamai on that we could go on. And this is basically what all the Meforshim did. Taisvas and the Rishonim and the Achreinim, that they're going back to all these discussions that took place when he wrote the Gemara, that we have a kasha and a teretz, but between that is so much. And the teretz, or the end with the maskon of the Gemara, is not the way it seems very poshet. But I understood it very good from this letter that he said that the Rebbe wrote. That the Rebbe explained that the kasha, if you look at the end line, the Rebbe was masking to his kasha. His kasha is the kasha that bothers the Rebbe also, and you're right. But really it's not. It just looks the same, but there is so much depth behind it. But this was a letter that the Rebbe wrote him. I once told over the story, but I didn't mention that it was Rabbi Yoel himself who wrote the letter. But now I'm saying that it was Rabbi Yoel. That's the way he told me. He wrote that letter to the Rebbe, and this is the answer that he got.